Nativity Thief is well written, it was interesting, it made you think, and there's redemption at the end. Hey guys, welcome back to Good Clean Reads. I'm Kenna Rose. Today's review is for The Nativity Thief by Anna Severson. Contrary to what may be assumed by the title, The Nativity Thief is not a Christmas story. It is a self-published novel about a 14-year-old boy named Tor Nissen, set in Sweden during the year of 1852. This novel was really interesting, and it would be classified as Christian fiction or adult Christian fiction, which doesn't mean it was inappropriate in any way. It just means that it deals with themes or just things that are a little bit more mature and that younger audiences might not get or might not fully understand. And the themes are sometimes heavier than you would see in a young adult or middle grade book. I really enjoyed The Nativity Thief. I'm going to read you what it says on the back. Sweden, December of 1852. 14-year-old Tor Nissen, the village troublemaker, steals a master carpenter's priceless nativity to save his sister's life. But a reversal of fortune soon leaves him more destitute and desperate than ever. To his frustration, he soon finds himself indentured to the very man he wronged. In his angry struggle to free himself from the control of the inflexible carpenter, Herr Andersen, and the censure of other disapproving villagers, Tor blinds himself to the knowledge that all that stands between him and complete ruin is his most feared and hated enemy, the Woodmaster. The Nativity Thief is a self-published novel, and I found it very, very interesting. I actually really enjoyed it. One thing the author did really, really well was creating complex characters. None of the characters really, for the most part, felt like cardboard cutouts, even the background characters. And the other thing I thought was really cool is that the character development was subtle, whereas often in a book, such as some of the young adult books I have on my shelf, character development is very forward or in your face. The character says and does something one way at the beginning of the book, and then to prove to you that the character has changed, they do the exact opposite or say something that recalls the way the character acted in the beginning, so that you can tell they changed. It's made very, very much like in your face the character changed. But in The Nativity Thief, it was subtle. It felt more like you were watching it happen in real time, and it wasn't straightforward. It wasn't the character took 2 steps forward and then another 2 steps forward. It felt like the character would take 2 steps forward and then maybe a step back. So it was just, I really enjoyed reading that, and it could be because the plot was focused mainly on character development, but it was still really enjoyable. And another thing I really appreciated about the character development in this story is that the characters actually had to take responsibility for what they did and say they were sorry and grow, and like the things they did wrong were acknowledged as having been done wrong, and then they were going to try to change. Because I think oftentimes in a lot of books too, characters don't just acknowledge that they've done wrong, they just stop doing it and kind of brush over it. I think in an effort to show that they have changed by not bringing back up some of those things. But I really appreciated how the author showed that the characters had changed by having them apologize and move forward and try to right some of the wrongs. So I really thought that was cool. The story itself was really engaging. I read it for the first time last year, maybe a year ago, and the story stuck with me months after I'd read it. I would be sitting there thinking, going, I wonder what happens with that character afterwards, or, that was a really interesting point. Like, it really stuck with me, and I wanted, honestly, to stay and continue reading. It really didn't have a ton of content concerns at all. For Christian or other beliefs, it's generally assumed that all of the villagers are Christian, they go to church. A big theme in the story is hypocrisy within the church, because the main character really struggles to understand how God can be good and how Christians can be actual Christians when all he seems to see is just a lot of sin and whitewashing and some of those things. So that was a really big theme in the story as you watch Tor try to wrestle through some of that hurt and pain. He really does have an especially hard time with the vicar of the church, which makes sense because the vicar is really horrible. He is the standard clear-cut, evil, like, vicar character. He uses his sermons to try and punish others, and so he's just a dreadful character. Romance, really mild. Tor has a crush on the vicar's daughter. A couple of people use their knowledge of the other person's crush to humiliate the other person. There's a flirty girl who flirts with a couple guys. Some of the women of the town gossip that Tor is actually the Woodmaster's illegitimate son. It's not true. I don't think it was written to be this way, but to me it seemed like the schoolmaster was a little bit too friendly with some of the girls. We're not told any of their ages really, and I don't think it was supposed to be that way, but it did come off like he was a little bit too friendly to me. Violence, there's nothing graphic, but a lot of people do die, or we hear about a lot of people dying, often from very sad circumstances. There are a couple of schoolyard fights that end in a bloody nose. Tor accidentally cuts himself with a knife, and that's all we hear of it. Tor burns himself trying to char the rope that he's tied up with off his wrists, and he accidentally cuts himself because he's really tired, and he gets boxed in the ears, but nothing is graphic. No swearing. There are 2 uses of the D word to mean condemned. Someone compares Tor to a demon from hell. Other things to know, there are a lot of characters with disabilities in the novel, and the villagers aren't very nice to them. So there's a girl with a clubfoot, and they make fun of her, or I think one character is supposed to have Down syndrome. It's not mentioned, but I think the character is written to have it, and the villagers call her an idiot child. So the villagers aren't very nice, and it may be because that's what historically would have happened, but it's still sad. And it's not painted as a good light in the story either. Like, the villagers being mean, that's not a good thing in the story. Tor is frequently called the drunkard's boy because his mother was an alcoholic who died from it. We're told that someone else's father drinks too much and it results in violence, so there's a little bit of that. Nothing really graphic either. The biggest part is just what we're told of Tor's mother. There's also worded strangely, but I don't think it was intended to mean anything wrong. Tor has a sudden urge to kiss a little girl's cheeks, but I think it's more of an all cute little baby way than anything else. It just sounded weird the way it was worded, so I thought I'd put it down as something. One thing I thought was interesting is that the Woodmaster's punishments are often very harsh, especially for a character that seems to be set up as almost like a good guy or Tor's savior in a way. They seemed a little excessive to me, including tying Tor up or sitting on him or whipping him, and it didn't sit right with me. I don't know if I'm just overthinking it. For my conclusion, the world of the Nativity Thief wasn't a gentle world. It wasn't overly rough and it wasn't inappropriate, but people got hurt and people sinned, and the book didn't gloss over it. It felt real. Tor's sister dies because she's ill and the village won't help. Tor is an angry, lying thief at the beginning of the story. A big theme is the hypocrisy of the church. People fight. It isn't a sweet story, but the Nativity Thief is well written, it was interesting, it made you think, and there's redemption at the end. It's something that sticks with you long after you have finished it. The characters are well defined, and their story arcs seem real. I picked up the Nativity Thief and read it without really knowing what to expect because I'd gotten it for free at the Illinois Christian Home Educators Conference. But it was really good. It was different from what I thought it was going to be, and I really enjoyed it, and it stuck with me long after I'd put the book down. So I definitely recommend reading The Nativity Thief. I hope you enjoyed the book review of The Nativity Thief by Anna Severson. Go to goodcleanreads.com and click on The Nativity Thief review for just a more detailed review, as well as discussion questions and a link to a place where you can buy the book. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I would really appreciate it if you would like the video, share it with your friends, comment below, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and bye!